You've just finished learning HTML and CSS and now you're wondering what projects can I build or which tutorial can I look for and watch and learn how to put what I've learned into practice and build real projects. Welcome to this channel. I'm Clyde Sparks from Clyde Sparks Code System, and in this tutorial we'll be learning how to build an e-commerce website using HTML CSS. So this is something very basic. You can see we have a navigation bar and a main section, and we have an image here, and we have this page that looks really beautiful, and we also have a products page that looks really nice, and we have a filter section here, and we have our contact section where you can send us a message. This is really nice and a simple tutorial for beginners. If you want to learn how to use your skills that you've just learned and are willing to build projects, this is what I would recommend for you. So we will be building this together, and I've left the trending page and the about page empty so that you can practice on your own. That will be a challenge for you. I want you to build with me what I'll be building, and then the rest will be up to you to also push your limits and see how creative you can be. So let's dive in and start coding. And just before I dive in, remember to like, share and subscribe. So right now I'm on my desktop and I've created a folder called it SmartDress site. So I want you to go to start menu, then type CMD, that's for command prompt, and then I want you to navigate to SmartDress folder. So I will say CD, which stands for change directory, then CD, then desktop. First we need to navigate to desktop, then I will say CD SmartDress dress, and then site, like that. And you can see right now we are inside SmartDress site. Then I will say code, then dot. That's telling Visual Studio to open the folder. So in this tutorial I'll be using Visual Studio, and I want us to create our first HTML file, which will be index.html file, index.html. So you can see I have these cool icons. If you want icons like that, you can just jump to this extensions panel, then you can type material icons, like that. Then you're going to see this material theme, and then I have material icon theme. Just click it, then press install. I've already installed it, so I don't need it. And then another thing that I use is called auto rename tag. So I will just show what auto rename tag does. So let's say I have HTML boilerplate. Just type HTML, then colon, and then enter, and it will give you this boilerplate. So let's say I have an anchor tag. So if I change this side, you can see it's renaming this side automatically. So if I say H1, you can see it's also renaming the other side. That's the work of auto rename tag. So if you don't have it, let's say you have an H1 and you want to change it to H2, you'd have to do it manually. So with it, I can just type on one tag and it will update the other one automatically. And then another important extension we need is called live server. So look for that one also. Live server is really important. So when we run our program, when we want to run our program, we just right click and then we say open with live server, and you can see it's opening it for us, and also it will be automatically refreshing it for us. So you can say H1 and say this is the SmartDress site, like that. And if we come back to our website, you can see it automatically refreshes for us, so we don't have to manually refresh. So we need to start, and we also need a few things. So okay, we will get what we need as we continue working. We don't have to work on everything immediately. So first of all, I'm going to change the title and say smart, or let me not say smart, let me say store and then dash home. So this title here, if you come back to your website, it's what we see up here. If you look up here, that's what we have, the title. So if we change it, if we change anything inside the title tags, it will reflect up here on the tab. So what I want us to do, I want us to create a header tag, and then inside it I want us to create a h1 and call it smart, like that, and then we will create a span like that, and then we'll say dress, as simple as that. And I don't want space in here, so I will remove the space. So if we come back to our site, we will see SmartDress. Now after that, since it's our head and we need a nav, and I'm going to use a couple of LIs and anchor tags inside it. So the first one will be index.html, like that, sorry, HTML, like that. And then, oh, I forgot to close the quotation marks, so I will say home, like that. And then I'm going to duplicate this, I think 5 times, I think. So I will say 1 2 3 4, like that. If you're wondering how I duplicated it, I just pressed Shift Alt and the down arrow. You select the first link that you want to duplicate, and then you press Shift Alt down arrow. So I can do the same for H1. I press Shift, then Alt, then down arrow, and you can see I have it. And if you want to undo what you've done, you just press Ctrl Z and you can undo what you've done. So the second one is going to be, let's say, products.html. Products.html, then I will call it products, like that. And then we will have trending. By the way, I'm going to give you guys a challenge, so don't just be happy. I'm going to give you, I think, 3 pages or 2 for you to work on, and then I'll say about, and then I'll say contacts, like that. So I will leave the other 3 trending, about, and contact links just to index.html, so that when we click it, we get redirected back to homepage. So we can see we have SmartDress, and then we have our links here, and also we need to use font awesome icons. So we can just say font awesome CDN, like that. Then it will open it. Then we can see font awesome libraries. Then I will click it, and I'm going to copy the first link. So you can see copy URL, copy link tag, and copy SRI hash. I will copy the link tag, and I'll come and paste it on the head, and then I will just wrap it to the next line. To wrap it, you press Alt Z, so it will wrap to the next line. So you can see 6 and then a space, then 7. It actually doesn't go to the next line, it just wraps the text if it's too long. So after going to font awesome, we can say font awesome, like that, and then we can open it, and then I will click font awesome. Then I'm going to icons tab, and then I will say cart, like that, or we can use cart or basket. Let me look for basket. Yes, here it is. This is the one I like. So we can click on the link, and once you click on the link, it will be copied automatically. Then I will come back to my header, and underneath the nav, I'm going to click it to paste it there. So to paste it, you just press Ctrl V, or you can right click, then come down and paste like that. Now if we come back to our site, we can see SmartDress and then our links and our icon for cart. Okay, let's call it basket so that you guys don't get depressed that I'm calling it a cart and it's a basket. So the next thing we can work on, let's work on the main section. So we'll say main, and let's give it a class of hero. So I'll say main.hero, and you can see it's main, and then it has a class of hero. So just saying main.hero gives us a shortcut, so we don't have again to say class and then hero like that. And inside main, I want us to have a div and an image. So the first div, I will call it hero details. So I will say dot hero dash details like that. Then I will press enter, and you can see to create a div with a class name inside, you just say dot, then the name of the class, and you will automatically have a div. Inside the div, I want a h2, and I will say smart, and then again we'll use span like that. Then we will say dress, as simple as that. Then I will again remove the space, or we can leave it with some spacing there. And I can also have a h1, h1 that says dare to stand and then out. So I'm going to use a capital T there, and then like that. So dare to stand out, and then I'll have a p tag, and it's going to have some text inside, and I will say fresh fits that speak louder than words like that. And then I'll say be bold, comma, then original like that. So we have fresh fits that speak louder than words, be bold, be original like that. Then we're going to have an anchor tag, and it's going to link to our explore section. So we can say hashtag explore, or right now you can just leave a hash sign that will mean don't go anywhere, and then you can say explore like that. Now let's look at what we have. This is what we have. We have our div, and inside it we have a h2, then a h1, then a p, then I have this. We will be calling it a button in this tutorial. So we also need an image, so img, and then we can go to img slash, and then I'll say main.png, and then I'll just say the alt, I will call it main, let's say main underscore image, as simple as that. The alt is just for people who are blind, or maybe your internet is slow and the image isn't showing, this text will show on its behalf. So right now we have our image down here, and we have our text, and we have our header. So what we can do is we can style our header, and also we can style our main, so that we start looking good. So I'm going to create a CSS file, and I'll say styles.css, simple as that. And then I'm going to say star, then open curly brackets, and we all know this simple reset, so I'll not explain them right now. 0, and then box dash sizing, I'll say border box, and I'll say text decoration none, and also list style none, as simple as that. So text decoration just removes the underlines under my links, and list style also removes the disk, those little small round shaped discs. So you might be wondering why isn't our CSS working, but it's because we haven't linked it to a file. So I'll say link and then I'll say styles.css like that. Then if we come back, we can see the dashes have gone and also the little dots. So after that, I will say HTML, or let's keep this for now. So let's say body, and we will give it a width of 100% and a height of 100 VH. So 100% of width, just we want our body to stretch from this side to this side, and our height to be the height of the viewport, so from up here to down here. And we can start styling the header. So I'll close this one, and let's style our header tag. So this header, so we'll take the tag and we can just say header like that, and then open curly brackets, then we can say display, and then we can say flex. In short, I can just say df like that, press enter, and then we have flex. And if we come back, we can see now our header, the content inside our header have been aligned vertically, not vertically, horizontally. So you can see we have SmartDress, then our links, then our cart, which is our basket. I'm sorry again. And again, I'll say align items, and I will say center. So right now our head, let's give it a border, and we can see what will happen. Let's say border 1 pixel solid black like that. So we have our header and we've given it a border. So align item center actually just makes sure that they are aligned top and the bottom on the center. So you can see SmartDress is actually in the center, and also the basket. For the links are still aligned vertically, so we're going to work on them. So let's continue, and again we will say we will give it a padding. So padding top, so we'll say padding, and we're going to say top and bottom should be 20 pixels, and left and right should be 25 pixels like that. So let's look at our header again. You can see we have now some spacing here. We have nothing this side, so we can't see anything. And I'm going to say justify content space between. So I will just say JCSB, and we'll have justify content space between. So we see we have our basket on this side, and actually right now we can see we have some spacing. Now let's continue. We can say box shadow, box dash shadow, and then I will say 0 0 10 pixels, and then hashtag 333 like that. And now we can remove the border and use the box shadow. I prefer the box shadow over the border. Now you see we have a shadow right here, and it looks really good. So what should we work on next? We're going to work on our h1. So we can say header then h1. You might be wondering why I didn't just give the header class and also the h1 a class. Actually, for me, I always have a problem naming my classes, so I just take the names of the tags and use it to style unless I have to. So I can say weight, we can say font weight, and then say bold, and then FZ, I'll say font size equals to 35 pixels like that. And then color, we're going to use hashtag 4FB7, and then I can say B3 like that, then close the statement. Now you see our color has changed, and after that we're going to style our span. So we have a span inside our header, so header then span. This span is what we're going to target, so we're going to say header then span, as simple like as that. So we should have said header h1 then span like that. So we are going to say background color, I'll say bg equals to hashtag, then I'll just use this color, and then I will say padding 2 pixels, sorry, not 22 pixels top and bottom, and then 5 pixels right and left. Now if we look at our span, now we have something like a box, which is just a background color, and we have some spacing top and bottom, right and left, and we're going to change the color. So we say color equals to white, and you see right now we have our text again, we can see it. And I want to reduce the sharpness of the border, so I will say border dash radius, I'm going to say 8 pixels, like that. And if we look at it again, now the corners aren't as sharp as they used to be, 8 pixels right now. And I think that's it for the span. So next we are targeting the nav, so we say header and then nav, as simple as that. So we have our navigation right here that has our links inside, and they're actually aligned vertically, and we want them to be aligned horizontally. So let's work on that. So we say header then nav, and I'm going to say df, which stands for display flex. That's just a shortcut, and then align items. So I could say AIC like that, align items then center. That's a shortcut. So let's look at them, and you can see right now they are aligned horizontally the way we want them to be aligned. So inside our nav we have LIs, list. We have lists here, so you can see li, all this. We want to work on them next. So let's work on our LIs, and you can say header, not header, we can say nav li, as simple as that. And we can say display and then flex, as simple as that. And also, no, not display flex, I'm sorry, we can just say margin dash right, and you can say 20 pixels, like that. So you can see we have some spacing, so we have spacing here. And let's move on. So we are going to say, so next we are going to work on the links. Inside our LIs we have link tags. Those are what we're going to work on next. So let's say nav li a, like that. Then we can say color, and then we're going to use our color, this one. And also we are going to say font size. Let me just use the shortcut and say 20 pixels. And if we look at our links right now, we can see the color has changed, and also their sizes. Let's continue, and then I'm going to move to the hovering state. So I'm going to say nav li and then a, simple as that. And I will say, let me add colon then hover, as simple as that. And I will say font size equals 22 pixels. So when we hover on a link, we want it to expand, the size to increase. And we can say font weight, which is just font weight, I will say bold. So let's check it out. So right now if I click on a link, you can see its size is increasing, and I don't like the way it's working because it's just instant. So we can add some transitions so that it can be smooth. So I can say transition, and I can, let me just say all, I'll say 0.5 seconds, and then I'll say is, as simple as that. And right now if I hover it, you can see it's working smoothly right now. It's not just instant the way it used to be. So next we are going to work on our hero, which is our main section. So we're going to leave a comment here, and we can say hero section, like that. So we leave comments so that we can remember, and also if I want to do some changes, I can just look for the hero section and know these are the styles for the hero section. So I'm going to give it a width of 100%. Width. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have selected it. So I'm going to use its selector, which is hero class, and I will say .hero, and then I'll say width. I'll say 100%, and then I'll say padding 20 pixels, and then I'll say display flex, and I will say align item center, and then I will say justify content also center. Justify, let's say JCC. Initially we said JCSB, right now we are saying JCC, and then I'll say margin dash bottom, and I will give it 70 pixels. So let's look at our hero. Now you can see it looks good. We have our text here and our image here. So right now our text and our image are actually both in the center. It's just that they are aligned horizontally, so we can have a good hero section. So let's work on it. So let's say .hero dash details. You remember the div we have for the details? We had this div called the .hero dash details, which has the details inside. So I will say h2, and I will say color, and then I'll just use the color we've been using. I'll say #4, like that. Sorry, let's say again hash, and then I'll select this color, and I will say fz equals to 35 pixels, and I will say margin bottom, I'll say 10 pixels, 10 pixels, like that. And we can look at it. We see the color has changed and it looks good. And also let's work on our h1. So we can say .hero dash details h1. Now that's the main text. So we'll say fz, let's say fz equals to 60. So if you type fz, you don't need to add px, it will automatically add px in front of the unit. And you can say font weight should be bold, and then I will say color, I will use hashtag, and then I'll say 388D, sorry, 388, then D, and then A, 8A, as like that. So let's look at it. You can see the color is a little bit different from this one, and we can work again on margin bottom. I can say margin dash bottom, I'll say 10 pixels, 10 pixels. So let's work on our paragraph, this paragraph that we have down here. So we're going to say .hero dash details, and then sorry, we need curly brackets, like that. Then we're going to say font size 25px, so fz 25, and then I'll move down and say color, and then I'll say hashtag 3f3f3fe7, like that. Then we can look at it. You can see the color has changed, and also we need a margin bottom of 20 pixels, margin bottom 20px, margin dash bottom, you can say 20 pixels, like that. So let me just look at it again. Sorry, it's details, like that. Yes, now you can see how it looks. So we are going to work on our button. We're using actually a link tag, an a tag, but we're going to call it a button. So for us to make it work like a button, we're going to give it a display block. So we're going to say .hero dash details, and then a like that. So we'll say display block, display, just say block like that. And then next we're going to give it a width of 150 px, 150 px. So let's look at it, and we don't see anything because we don't have a background or a border. And we're going to say margin top 50 pixels. Let's say empty, then 50 like that. And then I'll say border radius, border dash radius, I'll say 10 pixels. And font size, I'll give it 24 pixels. I'll give it 24 px. And then I'll say background color, I'll say hashtag, and I will use this one, the same color used on our H1. And then the color should be white. So the color is for the text inside, and the background color is the background color actually. So let's continue. And then I'll give it padding. I'll give it padding, and say top and bottom should be let's say 15 pixels, and then right and left should be 0 because it has a width. And then I'll say text align center, text dash align, and then I'll say center like that. Let's look at it right now. Yeah, you see we have a nice beautiful button here. We can even give it a font weight of bold like that. So yeah, you see it looks good, it's bold. And now we need to work on the hover state. So we can say dot hero dash details a, and then you can say hover, and we can give it a color that we used on our H2 background color. And I will say hashtag, and I will use the first color we used. So let's try it. So you can see the color changes, and we need to work on the transition again. So let's transition all 0.5 seconds is like that. So if we hover right now, you can see the transition is smooth. And let's work on our img. So we can say dot hero dash details, not details, sorry, dot hero, no, not dot hero first, I'm sorry for the mistake. So right now let's work on our img. So we can say dot hero and then img, and let's give it a height of, let's say 200 pixels and see what it will look like. And that's too small, so I'm going to say, let's say 400 pixels, and let's see how it will look like. It's still too small. I'll say 450 pixels, and that looks good. So we are going to move to the next section. You see how good this looks like already. Let's move to the next section. So let's create a small section and call it call to action. So underneath our main, I will say section dot cta like that. So our section with the class of cta, and inside we're just going to have an image, and I will say img slash, and I will say banner dot png, and the alt will be banner, as simple as that. And we can go back to our site and look at it, and we see this banner, and we can give it a height. But first, let's work on our banner first. Let's not skip it. So I will say, let's target our banner. So I'll say dot cta, and I will give it a height of 50%, and I will say overflow hidden like that. And sorry, just press Ctrl Z, and I will say margin 30 pixels 0, like that. Margin top and bottom 30 pixels, and then right and left 0. And I'll say padding 20 pixels, and then 25 pixels, and border radius 10 pixels. Border dash radius 10 pixels. So let's look at what we have. This is what we have right now, and it looks funny, but we're going to work on the image next. So dot cta img, I'll say width 100%, and then I will say border radius 10 pixels, like that. And that is what we have right now. So let's remove overflow hidden right now and look at something, because our image has been cut. So we can give it let's leave it like that, or we can give it a height. Let's give it a height of, let's say, 80%, like that, and see what we have. So yeah, that looks good. Next, we're going to work on another section. You can see in our page you can have multiple sections, and it's okay. The browser won't complain. So we're going to work on a features section. So we're going to say section dot features, like that, and then I will press enter. And inside it, I'm going to have feature cards. So I will say dot feature dash card, like that, and I'm going to have an icon. You know what, I don't think we need icons right now. We can just use the default ones. So I'm going to save div, and then I can, I want a class icon. So we can say dot icon, like that. And I'm on Windows, so I'll just press Windows then period, and I can say lightning, and I can use this one. And down here I can say no, I'm inside the div, the icon div, so I don't want that. I want a h3 underneath it, and I'll say lightning fast delivery. And I'm going to come to P. I'm going to create a P tag and say get your fashion essentials delivered at record speed right to your doorstep. Let me say doorstep, like that. And if we look at our page again, we have this small card down here. We have this section. Just a minute, let me look at it and see what's going on. Oh, I need to close this div. To start, not close it, but start it. We have this small lightning fast delivery. And actually you might be wondering, why do we have lightning fast delivery on top of our image? It's because our image is stretching down here. It's actually overflowing out of its box, so I'm going to give it an overflow hidden. So I'm going to say overflow, and I'll say overflow y, then I'll say hidden, like that. So if we look at it right now, it looks good. We have the section underneath the image. So let's continue. Let's create another card. I can just highlight that div, the feature card, and then I will, as I said before, you press Shift Alt then the down arrow, and you can copy it multiple times. And this one I'm going to use a car, to say Windows, and then I can say car, and I will use this one, and the text here will be, free shipping, like that. And I will say enjoy free shipping on all our, not our, but orders, and then dash, and then no hidden fees, no surprises, like that. And the other one could be, I can use a card, so I will say Windows then period, and I can say card, and I will use this one, and I will change the text. I can say secure payment, like that. And then also I will change the text and say shop confidently with secure and reliable payment options every time, like that. So if we look at this section, we have 3 cards, and that's what we're going to work on next. Let's actually style the feature cards. Actually, let's style the feature section first, then the cards. So we can jump over to our CSS, and we can say we can make a comment and say features section. Sorry, I need a star here, and you can say features section, like that. And we can have dot features. So let's take the selector dot features, and then curly brackets, and you can say width 100%, and we can say padding 20 pixels top and bottom, and 25 pixels right and left. And then we can say df flex, and then AIC center, and then JC, let's say JCSB space between, like that. Let's look at them, and now we can see they are aligned horizontally. So let's work on the cards themselves. So we can say dot feature dash card, like that. And we can say padding, you can say 10 pixels top and bottom, and 20 pixels right and left. And then border dash radius, you can say 10 px, and we can say background color, we can say background color, and then we can use this color right here. And then you can say df flex, and we can say IC center, and then JCC center. Sorry, I should put this in a new line there. And let's look at what we have right now. You can see what we have right now, and we can say flex direction, and you can say column. So this is what we have. We have first the icon, then the title, and then the p tag. And if we continue, we can say width 400 pixels, because actually right now we see they were stretching and touching each other. So let's work on the icon, and we can say FZ 30 pixels. Just want to increase the size only, and you can see we have increased the size. And then we can work on the feature card, and then H3. Let's change the color to bold. Sorry, if weight should be bold, and then margin, you can have 10 pixels, and then 0, that's actually top and bottom, 10 pixels. You can see we've increased the sizes. And we can say color white. I'm going to close this one, add a column there, semicolon. Now you can see what we have. And then let's work on the P next. So we can say dot feature card, and then P, like that. So we can say color, and then white, as simple as that. So you can see it looks really good. And we're going to move to our next section. And I have a feeling we should actually reduce the size of the card. So how about to say 350 pixels? So let's look at how they will look. That's too small. About 380. Yes, 380 looks good actually. So let's move to another section. Let's create another section. We call it explore section. So let's say section dot explore dash section. I don't know why I keep saying dash, but as you can see, it's a little bit tough. So I'm going to create a div inside it. We will make two divs, so we can say div. We'll just make one div and then duplicate it. So I'll say 2 h2 not 2, and then I'll say carry your style like that, and then I'm going to add a p tag, p like that, and I'll say from casual days to bold nights out dash, and then handbags like that, and then that keep up with your vibe. Sorry, yes, like that. And then I'm going to have an image. So I needed to create a new div. This is what I needed to do. I should have said container. I'm going to create a container div, to create a div with two classes, then container, and then container dash 1, and you'll just understand. Sorry, dot container dash 1 like that. You will understand shortly why we have two classes. Then I'll just press Alt, then the up key, and I will move all this text inside the new div. You see how cool it is? I'm giving you shortcuts in VS Code, and if you already knew it, well, that's great. So I want to create another div for the image, so I'll say div like that, and then I'll say img, and then I'll say img slash bag dot png, this one, and then for the alt I'll just say handbag, as simple as that. Actually, the alt is important for the search engines, but for us human beings, we don't really need it, because actually we won't even see it. So you can see carrier style from casual to bold nights out. Yeah, so what we can do is we can duplicate it. Let's duplicate this div. Shift Alt down arrow, and you will duplicate it like that. And I'm going to change this to container 2 like that, and I'm going to change the h2, and I will say made for him. Oh, that's not the way we spell him. So I will change the p tag also, the text inside the p tag, and I will say versatile styles that move with you dash from workdays to weekends in effortless fashion like that. Let me read it this side. Versatile styles that move. I knew I made a mistake. It should be move, not of. And then we're going to change the image, and it's interesting because for this container 2 we're going to have the image div first before we have the text. So I will cut it and then paste it up here, and I'm going to change the image, and I will say imgs slash, and then I'll say men wear .png, and then I'll just say the alt should be menwear, men's wear like that. And let's look at it. So we can see we have now the image first before the text. And let's style this section. So we can move to our CSS and then create a comment as usual, and then I'll say explore section, and then close the comment like that, and I will say dot explore dash section, and I will say min height, min dash again, it should be min dash height, I'll say 100 VH, and width should be 100%. Oh, sorry, should be 100 and then percent like that, and I'll say padding 20 px top and bottom and 25 pixels right and left, and I'll say df, and then I'll say AIC like that, AIC, and I'll say JCC, and then I'll say flex direction column flex dash direction column like that. Let's look at what we have. You see, now we have them in the center and they're looking good. So let's continue styling them, and I will say dot container. So let's look at what container. You see, container is the div that we have, the div that we actually duplicated. So dot container, and then open curly brackets, and I'll say padding 20 px 0, and then I'll say df, and then I'll say width 100%, and I will say height 100% like that. I want it to take all the height and the width, and then I'll say AIC center, and then JCC center, and then empty, I'll say 10, and I'll say border dash radius 10 px. So if we look at it right now, we see displayed flex. So the text on one side, the bag on the other side, the same to the suit and its text. It's just actually the opposite of what we have on the first div. We have now the image first, then the text. And if we continue, we can say dot container, and then we can say img, and I can say margin dash left, I can say 30 pixels, and I can say padding 2 pixels, and then 10 pixels. So let's look at it again. You see what we have now. There's something you should realize, but if you haven't realized it, we will talk about it later. So this tutorial is for beginners. If you are not a beginner, I know you have spotted something and it's good. We will work on it later. So the container, let's now work on the H2, the first text, and you can say color, and then you can just use the color we've been using, this one, and we can say FZ, and we're going to be consistent, so we'll say 25 pixels, and I can say max width should be 550 px like that. Let's look at it. You see, it looks good. And let's work on the p tag. So let's say dot container p, and then we can say color. We can use the other color we used, this one, and you can say FZ 25 pixels. Okay, it's fine. Actually H2 didn't need the max width. I made a mistake. We should have used it on our p tag. So we can say max dash width should be 550 px. Let's look at our text, and you see it looks nice. And our H2 needs a margin bottom. Let's give it 10 pixels. I think should be good. Yeah, that looks nice. And we should reduce the size of the p tag yeah, that looks nice. So you can see what we have here, looking good. It looks very nice. Let's continue. So let's give some borders to our image. So I said we will talk about it later, why we have sorry for the mistakes. Again, I made another mistake. It should be container, not container. I created two classes. Now we want to target specifically every image in the container. So we have container one image. I want to target this image and give it a border, and also do the same for the other image, the other div. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to say dot container one dash one. Now we're using the other class. Then img, I'll say border dash right, and then I'll say 5 pixels solid, and then I can say hashtag 3. This, I'm going to use this style, this color. Again, I'll say border top. There are better ways to do this, but as I say, this is for beginners. 2 pixels solid, and I'll give it the same color. So I'll say 3, and take the color, and then I'll give it border bottom, border dash bottom. I'll say 2 pixels solid, and hashtag, you know, the color. And let's look at what we have right now. You see what we have now? This image has a border and the other one doesn't have. So let's move to the next image. So I will say dot container dash, then I'll say 2, and then img, and I can just copy all this and come and paste it down here. Paste it down here like that, and then I can just change it from border right to border left, border dash left, and you see now it looks cool. Now the other one has the styling, and with that we can move to the next section. We're going to work on our footer section. Let's check it out. So I will say footer, go back to our code, and underneath the section closing tag I'll say footer like that. And I'm not going to give it a class, so I'll create a div inside it with the class footer container. So I'll say dot footer dash container like that, and then open it, and I will say h1 smart, and then as usual, you know, we have a span, and then I'll say dress like that, and we'll go underneath the h1 and say div, and I need to give it a class of socials. So I'll say dot socials, let me add an s here. Good. And I'm going to create let's use these classes. I'm going to create a few classes. Class equals fa dash brands, and then I'll add space, and then I'll say fa dash YouTube like that. And if we come back to our page and look, we have a YouTube icon down here. Now we can duplicate it. I think let's duplicate it 3 times. So I'll say shift alt down arrow and 1 2 3 like that, and then I can change this. I can change it to Facebook, and then I could move down and say GitHub, and then I could move down here and say Pinterest like that. And let's check them out, and you can see we have them down here. So, and we also want to have a nav for our footer. So underneath this closing div, inside the footer container, underneath the div, I will say nav, and I will open it, and I will say class footer dash nav, like that. Then we'll go inside it, and I'll just copy all the links that I had in my header, all this. I'll copy all of this, not cut, so I'll just undo Control Z, and I will copy, and I'll come down here and paste them like that. And then underneath that we can create another div and call it copyright. So copy right, then open it, and then I'll just say and copy. That is actually for the copyright symbol. So if I look down here, you can see we have a copyright symbol, and I can say, I can add a colon, semicolon, and then I can say 2025, and I can say clydasparks.com, like that. And if we look at it, here it is. So we need to start styling it. That's it for the, I think, for the main page. The next page we will be working on will be our products page. So let's start styling our footer. So we go to CSS and we add our comment, and we say footer, and then close the comment, and we say footer, and then open curly brackets and say padding, then 20 pixels, that's top, and right we have 25 pixels, and bottom we want 0 pixels, and left we want 25 pixels, and border top we want 2px solid, and then hashtag, and then I can use this color. So let's look at what we have right now. We have this border, and we have our content inside it, and you can see we have some spacing on top, but on the bottom we do not have some spacing because we gave it 0. So we can say dot footer dash container. This is the container we had inside our footer tag, and we can say df, and then we can say IIC, and then JCSB, like that. So I'll just put this in a new line. It will work, but for readability we want it in a new line, and you can see what we have right now. It's looking really good. So let's continue. I'm going to create a new div. Let's say, and I told you I don't know how to name my classes. Actually, I just ran out of names, so I will call it .h1 dash socials dash container. In other words, this div is for h1 and the social. So I will take the h1 and the socials div, and then press alt, then up arrow key, and bring them inside. So we have the div and we have our nav. So I'm just going to indent our list items like that, and after that we could just style the h1 dash socials. So I can say dot h1 dash socials dash container, and then h1, simple as that. And I will say color should be hashtag, and then 4, and I will take this color, and I will say margin bottom, and I will say 20 pixels. So let's look at it. You can see it's changed its color, and there's margin bottom underneath it. And we move to the span. So I will say dot h1 socials container span, like that, and I will just do what I did in the header. I'll say background color, and I will just use hashtag this color. Then I'll say padding 2 pixels, then 2 pixels and then 5 pixels, and I will say color white, and I will say border dash radius, and I will say 10 pixels, like that. So if we look at it, we can see it's good. And if we continue, we can say dot socials and then I. So we want the icon, so you can say FZ25. You can see through this tutorial I've been trying to be consistent. I can say color, then I can say hashtag, then 4, and we know the color I'm going to use, and I can say transition, all 0.5 seconds. 5 is. And by the way, if you're liking this tutorial, remember to like, share and subscribe. Share it with your friends and help me reach more audience. The socials, so we're going to work on the hover, socials, and then and then hover, like that. Sorry, hover, and then open curly brackets, and then I'll say FZ 30 pixels, and I will say transform, then I'll say rotate Y, and then I'll say let's say 70 DEG, like that. And let's look at what happens if we hover over them. There's something really wrong. Socials, yes. So if we hover over them, you can see we have this beautiful transition. It's actually rotating Y. And the last, maybe 2 things to work on the main page is dot footer dash nav, and then I'll say df, like that. And if we come back and look at them, we can see they are aligned horizontally. We don't have to work on them with other stylings because it's boring styling from the header, so we can just work on the copyright. And we can say dot copyright, and we can say FZ20px, like that. And we can go down, so Control Z, and you can say padding 20 pixels. You can say background color, and I can say hashtag 4. We know the color we'll use automatically. And I can say margin 10 pixels top and bottom, and then right and left auto because I want it centered horizontally. And then I can say text align, then center, and then lastly I can say color white, like that. So you can see we have this other div styled, and it looks good. It looks very, very nice. So that's it for this tutorial. Next we'll be working on our product section so that we can have a few products on the other page. We'll be working on a new page. The video has become a little bit longer than I expected, but you've seen we've actually had a good progress and it looks really beautiful. In the next tutorial, which will be part 2 of this, we are going to work on it. And actually before we leave, I just realized we forgot to work on this cart, which we called basket. So we are going to work on it right now before we leave. So we're going to go back to the header styles. So actually I don't just throw my code anywhere. Actually I follow the way my HTML has been arranged. So you see I start with body and then header, then h1, exactly the way I was working on it. So underneath the nav li hover, I'm going to say header, sorry, not here. I'm going to say header and then I. So I'm going to target the icon that is in the header, because we have other icons on our footer. So I will say FZ and I'll say 32px, and I will say color, and I will say 4, say hashtag 4, sorry, there. And there we have it. And now if we look at it, now it looks good and it looks professional. Here is our main page, our landing page. This is what we have, and it looks really nice. So be looking forward to the next section, which will be part 2 of this. I will be bringing it soon. See you in the next one. Remember to like, share, and subscribe.